Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and start the meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. First item on the agenda is any additions or deletions to the agenda. Mr. Bowling, do we have any from staff? Any members of the commission? Mr. DeBrawl? Okay, we'll proceed with the agenda. First item is 3A, which is approval of the minutes of August 11, 2016. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That's a motion to approve?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rednower, second by Dr. Day. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Signify like sign. Hearing none opposed, that motion unanimously passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a consent item, item 4A. It's the Scrum, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, accessory single-family dwelling. It's a request for administrative permit use approval for an accessory single-family dwelling unit. John Scrum is the owner. It's located at 1176 42nd Avenue. The zoning is RS6, residential single family, up to 6 units per acre. The land use designation is L2, which is low density residential 2, up to 6 units per acre. It is on the consent agenda, but it is quasi-judicial, so I will ask the commissioners if any of you have had any ex parte communications, separate investigations, or conducted anything else to inform yourself as to this matter, or do any of you have any conflicts that would prevent you from deciding this matter on a fair and equitable basis based upon the law and on the facts? No. And hearing none, then we'll go ahead. I'll take a motion to approve or not approve staff's recommendation on this item.
Move to approve staff's recommendation.
Okay, that was Dr. Day. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Stewart, any discussion? Any member of the public like to be heard? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It's item 5A. Oh, I'm sorry. I did have a question. I just wanted to ask you about that last one, even though we have approved it. One of the criteria was that the property, the principal dwelling unit and the accessory unit had to be on the same lot, or a combination of lots, unity of title. And the memo that we had said they're both located on a single lot. The diagram we had in the package seems to show that they're on lots 2, 3, and 4. And I was confused about that.
The unity of title is essentially in the works, so the item was prospective in that instance that it is to be a single
Okay. So
lot.
a unity of title is going to be required and
Correct.
it will be forthcoming.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, the next item is item 5A. It's Frank Richardson's request to rezone plus or minus 3.59 acres from A1 to RS3. And again, this is a quasi-judicial matter. So again, I'll ask the commissioners if you've had any ex parte communications with anyone, site visits, investigations that might influence your decisions in this matter, or if you have any conflict or any other reason why you cannot decide the matter based on the law and on the facts. Anybody have anything to report? No. If not, then we'll proceed. I'll ask that anybody who intends to testify on this matter or speak on this matter, please stand, and Madam Clerk, would you administer the oath? Okay, we will open the hearing, and I'd ask the county staff please make their presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Bill Shute. I'm the Senior Economic Development Planner and Long Range Planning in the Indian River County Community Development Department. As you said before tonight, it's a rezoning request from Frank Richardson to rezone 3.59 acres plus or minus from A1 to RS3. The subject site is located at the northeast corner of 66th Avenue and 33rd Street. As you can see on the overhead, it's a site that has an existing residence on it, the red box surrounding that area, and it's a site of an old citrus grove as well. To the east, you have some large lot residential homes, some more recently developed subdivisions. To the south, you have a large lot residence across 33rd Street, along with a developing subdivision. To the north, you have part of an overall 9.04 acre property that's actually part of this applicant. The applicant owns a total of 9.04 acres. They're rezoning the 3.59 acres in the front, and that's also Old Citrus Grove in the rear. And to the west is Lateral A Canal, 66th Avenue, and the Peterson Groves and Nursery site. So as stated, the purpose is to secure the zoning necessary to use the site with uses that are allowed under the RS3 zoning district. RS3 stands for residential, single family, up to 3 units per acre. So allows for single family development and conditional uses allowed in A1, such as child and adult care facilities and places of worship. And as mentioned a little earlier, they intend to split off, well, it's overall a 9.04 acre site. So the intent is to split off existing single family home and leaving plus or minus 5.45 acres zoned as agricultural 1. And as noted in the staff report, that process would come after the rezoning where they do a lot split, and it would be a flag lot similar to the lot to the directly to the east, where you have access out to 33rd Street, and it'd be at least 80 feet wide as required by the RS3 zoning district, the primary access. The existing adjacent uses, as shown on this zoning map, you can see to the east is all RS3 is the yellow shading. To the south across 33rd Street is RS3. To the north is A1 Agricultural 1. And to the west is A1 Agricultural 1 across Lateral A Canal and 66th Avenue. And with the rezoning request, the map would, if it was approved, would look like this, with RS3 continuing from the east onto this property, east and south. As with any rezoning request, there's set criteria that are analyzed. The county looks at the concurrency, consistency with the comprehensive plan, environmental impact, compatibility with surrounding uses. With respect to concurrency, with the rezoning request, we always look at the worst case scenario, so we look at the most intense use. So in this case, it would have been 10 residential units potentially on that site. In this case, all the facilities, there's capacity for all the facilities, and if it were to develop at some point in the future with more residential homes, we would evaluate at that time for further concurrency. Consistency with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan designates the site L1, and L1 is intended for uses, for residential uses, such as the RS3, and allows policy 1.11, excuse me there. It's discussed under policy 1.11 and 1.12, the future land use element. And there it states it's intended for residential uses up to 3 units per acre. It also allows for continuation of agricultural uses. Future land use objective 6 and policy 6.3, those policies encourage agricultural preservation. So looking at the overall site, and they're only doing the front portion, they're preserving the back as agricultural for agricultural activities. Request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Environmental impacts, it's an altered site, as mentioned. It's an old citrus grove in the back, behind the house. There's any native trees will be subject to county tree protection requirements. Complete environmental impacts will be considered at time of development. At this time, there's no adverse impacts from the rezoning. With respect to compatibility, as mentioned earlier, south of 33rd Street is RS3 zoning. There's no incompatibilities. To the north is A1, part of applicant's parcel. No long-term incompatibilities. East, RS3s, no incompatibilities, again, continuation of that zoning district. And west, you have the lateral A Canal, 66 Avenue, and A1. And 66 Avenue at this point in that area is outside of the USA, the urban service area. So no incompatibilities. In conclusion, the requested RS3 is compatible with surrounding uses, consistent with the comprehensive plan. It meets the concurrency test, no additional environmental impacts, and staff supports the request. So with that, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve the rezoning request from A1 to RS3.
Okay. Does any member of the commission have any questions of county staff? I do just have one question, and it's more for my own information. I understand that when you evaluate these rezoning requests, you evaluate them from the standpoint of the most intensive use. In this case, it's 3 units per acre. There's 3 point some odd acres, so you looked at 10 units. I was just curious, how does the conditional uses of child care facility or places of worship fit into that analysis?
Right. Stan Bowling, Community Development Director. We look at the most intense permitted uses that are on the site, which would be single-family development in the highest density, as you mentioned. For conditional uses, since there's a special process that they go through and site plan is required for that, there'd be a concurrency test with that. So if there were to be a different type of, for instance, more traffic generated, if it was a large enough, say, daycare or church, that would be evaluated on a specific proposal rather than a hypothetical.
Okay. Is Mr. Richardson here or his agent? Yep. Would you like, first of all, do you have any questions of the county staff? No, sir. Would you like to make any presentation or say anything to the Planning and Zoning Commission? Come on down, please.
I was signed in as the representative for Mr. Richardson.
Okay, go ahead and please state your name and address for the record. And
My name is Fred Kiesel. I live at 1585 50th Court, Vero Beach, and I'm here to represent Mr. Richardson.
okay,
The reason we're requesting this rezoning is Mr. Richardson has lived on the property for many years, and he financially hardship right now, and he needs to sell some of the property. But he wanted to keep his house there and sell off as much property as possible. So we asked for the rezoning so we could keep his house as RS, well, it would have to be RS3. Otherwise, he would have to divide the property into parcels, 5-acre parcels. And at this point, he financially can't do that. He needs to sell as much property as possible. So we're looking at the person purchasing the property so he could put a tree farm, have the agricultural property for a tree farm, and purchase as much as possible, which is going to be probably about 7 acres roughly is what he would purchase. He would get the section coming in from the front, which has to be, we wanted to just rezone the section where the house was, but because it had to be contiguous with the existing zoning, we had to rezone. It has to be rezoned all the way across to the east side of the property. So that's what we're looking for and the reason we're asking for the rezoning.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
any questions? County staff have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to be heard? Does county staff have anything further? And just so we're sure, does any member of the commission have any other questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. Gentlemen, what's your desire?
Move to approve with staff's recommendation.
Okay, Dr. Day has a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Stewart has made a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item is item 6, commissioners' matters. Does any commissioner have any matters they'd like to bring before us tonight? If not, item 7, we have the planning information package. Just a comment. I was semi-stunned by the citrus figures, the citrus greening, and I don't know much about it. But as I read the information that was provided, the state of Florida produced in 2003, 2004, I guess before the hurricanes and greening arrived, 242 million boxes of, I'll say, citrus products. And last year it was 80 million, and this year the forecast is 60 million. It's pretty dramatic. Now, it also made me think about the policy, one of the policies that was involved in that prior case about preserving agricultural properties. I guess trying to maintain about 125,000 acres, was it, in the county? I don't know if at some point we may have to look at that as citrus, if citrus continues to decrease. But it was pretty impactful for me to see that very large decline in the citrus production.
And I agree, that's one of the reasons we put the articles in, that just when you see the numbers like that over that period of time, and of course it's a huge issue in our whole part of the peninsula of Florida, and there's a lot of other types of uses that a lot of people have been looking at, different other types of agricultural or open space issues or water farming, all those sorts of things. So there are a number of options that either the land use element or our land development regulations allow in terms of types of agriculture. The question is, really gets down to feasibility and marketability. So those numbers tell the story.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else have any questions or comments on the information package? If not, item 8, attorney's matters. Mr. DeBrawl?
I have nothing.
Okay. Do we have anything else to come before us tonight? If not, thank you all for attending. Meeting's adjourned.